Hey, what's up guys? This is the video for section 6.4, which is solving systems by the elimination method. But today we are going to see how to multiply to cancel one of the variables. So the steps I showed you guys in the previous video, there's the same one here on the screen. This is what you can follow to solve a system by elimination. So let's just review. Step 1, you want to write the equations, both of them in standard form. Remember, you have two equations in a system. So standard form, you must have the x and the y on the same side. Number 2, you choose a variable to eliminate, and you can choose the x, the y, just choose one variable to eliminate. After you know what variable you want to eliminate, make sure that you check that the variables have the same coefficient and they have different sign. If they don't have the same coefficient or different sign, that's where you multiply. And you can multiply one or both equations in order to get the same coefficient and different sign. After you have this done, same coefficient, different sign, then you guys go to step number 4. You add both equations, you combine like terms, and solve for the variable. And number 5, you go back after you know in step number 4 what the value of the variable is. You go back to step number step number 5, and you go back to one original equation and you solve for the other variable. So let's try an example here. So notice that we do have a system, and I'm just checking step number 1. We want to use the elimination method. We have the x and the y on the same side. X and y, so those two equations are in standard form. So step number 2, I'm going to choose one variable to cancel. I'm looking at the x's and I notice that they don't have the same number, same coefficient, so I'm going to check the y's. Okay, the y's don't have the same number either. They have a 15 and a 3, and the x's have a 7 and a 1. So when this happens, you just choose one variable to cancel, and then you just follow the next steps in solving a system. So I'm going to choose the x, right? Doesn't matter which one you choose right now, because x and y or the y, they don't have the same number. So let's check the x's. To cancel the x's, you must have the same number and you must have different signs. So remember that we do have an invisible 1 next to the x right here. So if I want to have the same number, one thing you can do is multiply this number, the 1, by 7. If you multiply 1 times 7, it's going to be 7. And it's already a 7 up here. So we're going to have the same number. But here's another thing. They do not have different signs. So what you also can do is multiply by a negative to change the sign, and that way they have different signs. So I'm going to put a parenthesis right here, and I'm going to multiply by 7, and I'm going to make it negative so I can change the sign. But you also have to remember that if you multiply this by negative 7, you have to multiply everything by negative 7. So look what happens when you distribute that negative 7. The top equation stays the same, so I'm just going to rewrite it. And once you look on the bottom equation, you have a negative 7x because you multiply negative 7 times 1. And then you multiply negative 7 times negative 3y. That's positive 21y. And then you multiply negative 7 times 20. And that's negative 140. Check the x's. Remember, that's what I chose to cancel. So I'm looking at the x's. They have the same number and they have different signs. So we are ready to cancel. You put a big line under the system. You cancel the x's. That's going to be 0. And for the y's, you are going to have a 36y, 15 plus 21, and that's going to equal negative 108. When you guys combine the constants, 32 minus 140, we get negative 108. Now you guys are going to solve for y. So you divide by 36 here. You guys will divide. This is going to turn into 1. So my y value is negative 3. So we got the y. Now you guys are going to go back and you are going to substitute this value for the y into one equation in the original system. Remember that we do have the steps. I'm not writing down the steps, but you just follow the steps. When you guys find y equals, or a variable equals a number, that's step number 4. So step number 5 is when you find the second variable. So I'm going to just put here, you substitute y equals 3 into one equation. So we're going to substitute, and I'm going to choose the bottom equation. And you always choose one that looks a lot easier to use. Just make sure that you guys choose one equation and substitute the value. So that's the bottom. I'm just going to show you guys right here. I don't need that one in front of the x, but this is the bottom equation. And you guys will substitute the y, -3, into that variable. So we have x minus 3 times a -3, and we have 20. You guys multiply -3 times -3, that's 9. And you solve for x. Subtract 9 from both sides. So the x value is going to equal 11. All right, so we got the x, we have the y. So now you guys write down your solution. And your solution, remember, is an order pair. So we always want the x first. So x, and you put 11. And then you guys have the y, -3, which is the y value in alphabetical order. And we have the answer. So this is the elimination method when you guys have to substitute in order to get the same coefficient in one of the variables you want to cancel. Notice that I did multiply only one equation in order to get the same coefficient in different signs. Some cases, you're going to have to multiply both equations by a number to get the same coefficient in different signs. So let's try one where you guys have to multiply both. So notice here, we have 3x minus 2y equals 2 and 5x minus 5y equals 10. So step number 1, are the two equations in standard form? Yes, they are. X and y are on the same side. The constant is on the other side. Step number 2, you guys choose one variable to cancel. So notice that the x's, they don't have the same number. The y's don't have the same number. Just choose one variable to cancel. I'm going to choose the y's. No matter what, if you choose to cancel the x, you will get the same answer. If you choose to cancel the y first, you are going to get the same answer. So just choose one variable. So I'm looking at the y's. I do have a 2, I do have a 5, and the signs are the same, a negative and a negative. So here's what we need. We need to make those numbers for the y's the same number, and we need to have different signs. So the way I want you guys to find the same number, to make these two numbers the same, look for a common factor. And what I mean is, you want to find a number that 2 goes into, and at the same time 5 goes into. So for example, 2 goes into 2, but not the 5. 5 doesn't go into 2. 2 goes into 4, but 5 doesn't go into 4. 2 goes into 6, but 5 doesn't go into 6. 2 goes into 8, but not the 5. 2 goes into 10, and 5 goes into 10. So 10 is your common factor. And you always want to find the lowest one, lowest common factor. So in order to make this number a 10, which is the common factor, you need to multiply by 5. 2 times 5 is 10. And in order to make this one a 10, you need to multiply this by 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So you guys need to multiply the top by 5 and the bottom by 2. Now remember that if you multiply one variable by a number, you have to multiply the whole thing by that same number. But also guys, remember that we said we don't have different signs. So you have to multiply one of those numbers and make it negative. Doesn't matter which one, but you make one of those numbers negative. So I'm going to make the 2 negative, and that's going to change the sign. Can you make the 5 negative and keep the 2 positive? Yes. You just choose one of those numbers and make it negative to have different signs when you multiply. So now you guys will distribute. You guys actually have to multiply 5 times 3x times minus 2y and times 2. So that's going to be 15x minus 10y and 10 on the other side. On the bottom, same thing, you distribute. So we're going to get negative 10x plus 10y equals negative 20. Remember that you guys are multiplying, multiplying, and multiplying. Look at the y's. The y's, after you multiply by those numbers, we have the same number and different signs. So we are ready to cancel or eliminate the y's. So you guys put the line on the bottom, cancel the y's, and we get 15x minus 10x, that is 5x positive, equals 10 minus 20, that's negative 10. You guys divide by 5, and my x value, this turns into 1, x value is negative 2. All right, so now you guys have to go back and substitute the x, which is negative 2, into one of the original equations. So you look at the top, you look at the bottom. I like the top equation, so you are going to substitute. So when you guys substitute, let me just rewrite the equation. 3x minus 2y equals 2. I'm going to substitute into the x because that's what we have. X equals negative 2. And we have 3 times, you substitute the negative 2 minus 2y equals 2. And you solve. So 3 times negative 2, that's negative 6 minus 2y. You add 6 to both sides, and we get negative 2y equals 8. Divide. So the y is negative 4. We got the answer. So my solution, remember it's an order pair, x always goes first, negative 2, and my y is negative 4. X and then the y. So this is elimination method when you guys have to multiply both equations by a number. And you always want to cancel one of the variables. So make sure that you guys have the same coefficient and different sign. That's going to cancel. And then you just solve. You follow the steps. So let's try another one here. So right here, guys, we do have fractions again. You guys want to solve by elimination. Just get rid of the fractions. That's the first thing before you start actually canceling or eliminating one of the variables. So the top equation, you guys have a fraction 2x minus 3 over 4y equals negative 7. So my denominator is 4. So I'm going to have to multiply the top equation by that number, which is 4. And the bottom equation, we have x plus 1/2 y equals 0. Don't worry about the 0. It's just a number. It's just going to work times 0. But we do have a denominator of 2. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by 2. And this is the first thing you do. You want to get rid of the fractions. And then you guys start following the steps to solve by elimination. So let's do the top. You guys will multiply. And then you guys will multiply right here and multiply. So we have 4 times 2x, that's 8x. You multiply 4 times 3 and you keep the denominator. So it's going to be negative 12 over 4y. And 4 times negative 7, that's negative 28. Now at the bottom, you multiply by 2. So you guys will multiply 2 times x, 2 times 1, and keep the denominator, and 2 times 0. You already know what that is, but I'm going to distribute. So we get 2x plus 2 over 2y equals 0. 2 times 0 is 0. You guys are going to divide. You simplify the two fractions. So we are going to get, let me just put the arrow right here, 8x minus a 3y equals a negative 28. And on the bottom, you guys will get 2x plus 1y equals 0. No more fractions. Now you guys follow the steps. So let's go ahead and choose one of the variables to cancel, the x or the y. Doesn't matter which one. If you notice, the y's, they already have different signs. So I think choosing the y to cancel, to eliminate first, is a little bit easier than the x's. The x's don't have different signs. So you can choose the x's, but if since they don't have different signs, you're going to have to multiply by a negative number. But I think the y's is a little bit easier. They already have different signs. I just need to get the same number. So let's think about it. We have a 3 and a 1. What is the lowest common factor? 3. 3 goes into 3. 1 goes into 3. How do you make that 1? 3. What do you multiply by? You multiply by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. So I multiply everything by 3. So let me just go down here and do the work. So the top says the same, 8x plus 3y equals negative 28. On the bottom, you guys will get 6x, 3 times 2, plus 3y equals 0. I made a mistake, guys. This is not negative right here. That's not positive. It should be negative. So let me just put x minus, and we have the 3. So there it is. We have opposite signs, different signs, and same coefficient. So now you guys make your line on the bottom. You cancel the y's. 8x plus 6x, that's 14x. And negative 28 plus 0, that's negative 28. You guys divide by 14 on both sides. So this would turn into 1. And my x value will be negative 2. Yep, that is my x. Now you guys go back and you choose one equation. Don't go back to the fractions. Go back over here. So you don't have fractions. You're going to get the same answer and you substitute into the x. I like the bottom, so I'm going to choose the bottom equation. So I'm going to substitute here and we get 2x, that's the bottom equation, minus y equals 0. So we have 2 times negative 2 minus y equals 0. You guys solve, and we add 4 to both sides. Negative y equals 4. The variable cannot be negative, so you guys just divide by negative 1. That's what you do to get rid of the negative. And the y value, this turns into positive 1, equals negative 4. So my solution, I'm just going to put it on the side right here. My solution will be x is always first, negative 2 and negative 4. All right, guys. So I have one more example. And the next example is when you guys have one of those special cases. Remember that sometimes a system can have many solutions or no solution at all. So let's look at the last one for this video. And like I said, guys, you just do the work, check, follow the steps, and then you have to check what type of system you have. Maybe you have many solutions, maybe you have no solutions. So let's go ahead and just follow the steps. The two equations are in standard form, x and y are on the same side. I'm going to choose one variable to cancel, and I think that the x's is a little bit easier to cancel than the y's, because I know that the common factor for 2 and 5 is 10. So I just need to multiply this by 5, and I need to multiply this one by 2. And they already have different signs. If you look at the y's, 20 and 8, the lowest common factor will be 40. 20 times 2 is 40, 8 times 5 is 40. But 40 is a little bit high. The number is a little bit too big. So I think the x is a little bit easier. Can you cancel the y's? Yes, you can. But you're just going to have to work with big numbers. But let's go ahead and cancel the x. So to cancel the x, I am going to multiply the top by 5 to make the x a 10, and the bottom by 2 to make the x a 10. They already have different signs, so you don't have to multiply by a negative number. Now you guys distribute. So on the top, you guys will get 10x plus 40y equals 30. And on the bottom, negative 10x minus 40y equals negative 30. Wow, look what happens. When you guys add, well, we know the x's are going to cancel. 10 minus 10 is 0. But look at the y's. They also cancel. So I'm going to bring down the equal sign here. And when everything cancels on one side, it's not going to be empty. It's going to be 0. Everything cancel. 40 minus 40 is 0. 10 minus 10 is 0. But look on the other side. 30 minus 30, 0. Hey, this is a special case. The two variables cancel. There's no more x. There's no more y. You guys need to ask yourself, Is that statement true, the one you guys got, 0 equals 0? And that is true. They are the same number. So when your statement is true, then we say it is many solutions. If you guys graph, remember that you guys can use the Desmos app. This is many solutions here. And if you guys graph the two equations, since we know the answer is many solutions, they will be the same. They are the same line. One line will be on top of the other one. If you guys have no solution at all, then the two lines will be parallel. But right now, they will be the same line. And actually, let's just write down the little note for parallel lines or no solution. So here's a note for you guys. How do you know it's no solution? Well, if you guys have a false statement. So let's say that we do the work, you cancel the x's, the y cancels, and I'm just going to make up some numbers here. 0 equals -7. Are those the same number? No, 0 equals -7 is not the same. So this is false. So when it's false statement, you guys will write down no solution. And if you graph, the two lines will be parallel. So just keep in mind to look for those special cases. Let me just review with you guys again. If the variables cancel, the x and the y cancel, and you have a true statement, doesn't matter what numbers they are, but it is true, it is many solutions. And if, let's say you do the work, the x and the y cancels, and you get a false statement, doesn't matter the numbers, but it's false, it will be no solution. All right, guys, so this will conclude my video. Make sure you guys practice your math, and I'll see you guys later.